Hello and welcome to assignment number 4, investigate the application of behavioral frameworks for study success and professional development. All right, so the main objectives of this presentation will be broken down into the framework essentials, applied example, literature insight, and the emerging perspectives and critical evaluation. So this slide provides a little bit of each one, kind of breaks down into the core ideas, gives a case snapshot, provides the evidence supported by different studies, also provides the discrepancies that the AI was providing me through my queries, and then the insights that I looked into myself to provide validation and contextual specificity. And for the critical evaluation, I looked at the overall strengths of EBP as well as the limitations that one could face while establishing or implementing EBP into practice. All right, so let's lead us to the first point, the EBP framework and ABA for enhancing academic performance. All right, so one of the core tenets of this framework is its broad and inclusive approach to evidence-based practice, which extends beyond validating manualized procedures. As Contreras et al. 2022 explained, this definition places a strong emphasis on the use of the best available evidence and does not limit the evidence to that which supports a handful of specific validated manualized procedures. It instead recognizes the scientific basis for behavioral practice, includes a rich literature of complex intervention packages, assessment strategies, practice elements, or kernels and principles, and all of these should be included in the evidence-based related to behavioral practice. This was cited from page 621. So this suggests that the ABA practitioners should adopt a flexible, research-driven approach that incorporates a variety of methodologies to best support student learning outcomes. All right, so the core components: best available evidence, ethical guidelines, and interdisciplinary collaboration. So the EBP framework is widely recognized across various professional disciplines and has been adapted to meet the specific needs of each field. Slocum et al. 2014 highlights this by stating, in recognition of their own research to practice gaps, numerous professions have adopted an EBP framework. Nursing and other areas of healthcare, social work, clinical and educational psychology, speech and language pathology, and many others have adopted this framework and adapted it to specific needs of their discipline to help guide decision making. Not only have EBP frameworks been helping to structure professional practice, but they have also been used to guide federal policy. Page 42. This cross-disciplinary application of EBP underscores its relevance to ABA, particularly in education settings where student outcomes can benefit from a structured, research-backed decision-making process. So, moreover, the framework aligns with the ethical guidelines established by the Behavior Analyst Board, the BACB, reinforcing the necessity of scientific rigor in this practice. As Slocum et al. Elaborates, the term best available evidence occupies a critical and central place in the definition and concept of EBP. This aligns with the fundamental reliance on scientific research that is one of the core tenets of ABA. The Behavior Analyst Certification Board 2010 Guidelines for Responsible Conduct and Behavior Analysts repeatedly affirm ways in which behavior analysts should base their professional conduct on the best available evidence. For example, Code 101, Reliance on Scientific Knowledge. Behavior analysts rely on scientifically and professionally derived knowledge when making scientific or professional judgments in human service provision, or when engaging in scholarly or professional endeavors. Code 2.10, Treatment Efficacy. Section A, the behavior analyst always has the responsibility to recommend scientifically supported, most effective treatment procedures. And effective treatment procedures have been validated as having both long-term and short-term benefits to clients and society. Section B, clients have a right to effective treatment, i.e., based on the research literature and adapted to the individual client. Page 45. By adhering to these ethical standards, the ABA practitioners ensure that interventions are both effective and aligned with professional guidelines, ultimately enhancing educational outcomes for students. So, furthermore, interdisciplinary collaboration is a fundamental aspect of the EBP framework, strengthening the applicability to diverse educational contexts. Contreras et al. 2022 emphasized that thus EBP of ABA is not a restricted set of procedures, but rather a nuanced approach to behavioral problem solving that is relevant to the clinical practice. Further, this conceptualization is closely aligned with the definition of EBP used by many other professional fields, including medicine. Sackett et al. 1996, psychology ABP, APA, Presidential Task Force on Evidence-Based Practice 2006, Occupational Therapy, Dysart and Tomlin 2002, Speech Language Pathology, American Speech Language Hearing Association, ASHA 2004, and Social Work, Gilligan 2005, page 621. This recognition highlights the importance of a multidisciplinary approach to behavioral problem solving, ensuring that students receive comprehensive, well-informed interventions tailored to the individual needs. So this leads me to the conclusion that the framework of ABA is distinguished by its inclusive approach to evidence alignment with ethical standards, and interdisciplinary collaboration. These components ensure that the behavioral interventions are scientifically validated, ethically sound, and adaptable across different educational clinical settings, ultimately enhancing academic performance for a broad spectrum of students. All right, this leads me to my second point, supporting Michael's academic and emotional well-being. So this is an evidence-based approach in supporting Michael's academic and emotional well-being by integrating behavioral strategies, interdisciplinary collaboration, and cultural competency. So the case overview. Michael is a graduate student from a multicultural background and faces significant academic and emotional challenges. He is an international student adjusting to a new academic environment and experiencing executive functioning difficulties, social isolation, and anxiety related to cultural and academic transitions. Addressing Michael's concerns requires a comprehensive evidence-based approach that integrates behavioral strategies, interdisciplinary collaboration, and cultural competency. So the established framework used and applied in this example is the evidence-based framework, which utilizes EBP integrating research, clinical expertise, and personal preferences. So in this case, the behavioral framework selection of the evidence-based practice model serves as the foundation for intervention, integrating scientific research, clinical expertise, and individual preferences to guide behavioral decision-making. Contreras et al. 2022, page 621. EBP is highly applicable to Michael's situation as it allows for flexibility in intervention selection, incorporating structured behavioral strategies and assessment tools to tailor a support plan specific to his academic and emotional needs. Contreras et al. 2022, page 621. By employing EBP, we ensure that Michael's interventions align with best practices across disciplines such as psychology, education, and counseling. Contreras et al. 2022, page 621. Okay, so some of these targeted interventions for academic and emotional challenges are a primary concern for Michael's executive functioning difficulties that also impact his ability to manage coursework and meet deadlines. Kong and Stucco 2022 found that checklist training can be an effective tool for improving self-regulation, breaking down the complex academic tasks, and fostering time management skills. Page 1151. Implementing a structured checklist for Michael, including task prioritization, assignment deadlines, and self-monitoring strategies can facilitate academic success while reducing cognitive overload. Fong and Stucco, 2022, page 1151. So beyond structured interventions, compassion-focused behavioral skills training, otherwise known as BST, can also improve faculty-student interactions. Rohrer and Weiss 2022 demonstrated that BST enhances practitioners' ability to engage empathetically with individuals facing emotional distress. Page 14. In Michael's case, training faculty members and academic advisors in compassionate communication techniques can help create a supportive learning environment that acknowledges his cultural and academic transition challenges. Rohrer and Weiss 2022, page 14. Social validity measures further affirm BST's role in fostering meaningful and effective interactions between students and faculty. Rohrer and Weiss 2022, page 14. So the role of the interdisciplinary team. The role of an interdisciplinary team on Michael's experience with anxiety and cultural adjustment underscores the need for an interdisciplinary support network. Excuse me. Contreras et al. Emphasizes that the EBP extends beyond ABA principles to include frameworks used in medicine, psychology, and education, page 621. An interdisciplinary team, including an academic advisor, an international student counselor, and a mental health professional, can collaboratively design interventions that address Michael's academic, emotional, and cultural needs. By integrating cross-disciplinary expertise, the intervention plan remains comprehensively culturally responsive and adaptable. So the cultural considerations and identity-based adaptations for Michael's identity as an international student necessitate interventions that are culturally inclusive and also affirming. Rohrer and Weiss 2022 highlight the importance of compassionate ABA practices that validate diverse identities and lived experiences, page 14. And some of these key strategies include, number one, designing culturally responsive academic resources that acknowledge language barriers and differing educational paradigms. Number two, providing faculty training on culturally competent advising practices. And number three, incorporating a peer mentorship program that has students from similar cultural backgrounds to enhance social integration and support. So by aligning these interventions with Michael's cultural background and personal values, engagement and intervention effectiveness are maximized. All right, so we got a little bit of the interdisciplinary collaboration and cultural competence. My apologies for forgetting to skip through those, but those were just some topics that I touched based on. Which moves us on to our third point, literature review, evaluating the EBP frameworks in academic settings. All right, so some of the effectiveness of the evidence-based practice frameworks in academic settings has been widely discussed in recent scholarly literature. This review synthesizes key findings from relevant studies, highlighting both support and critiques of the framework. Slocum et al. 2014 emphasized the significance of a multi-component treatment package in EBP, arguing that Smith made a case that multi-component treatment package is key in EBP. Smith noted that practitioners can rarely solve a client's problem with a single procedure. Instead, solutions typically involve combination procedures, page 49. This perspective underscores the necessity of integrating multiple methodologies to address complex and behavioral challenges. Furthermore, supporting the importance of EBP, Slocum et al. 2014 highlights the importance of growing governmental support and policy endorsements of these evidence-based approaches. Federal funding for research and service provisions is moving strongly towards EBP and ESTs. This trend is clear in education through the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, the Individuals Disability Act of 2004, the funding policies of IES, and What Works Clearinghouse. The recent memorandum of the Director of Office of Management and Budget, Zaintz 2012, makes it clear that the importance of EBP is not limited to a single discipline or to one political party, page 54. This statement illustrates the policy-driven shift towards EBP in education, reinforcing its significance across multiple disciplines. Contreras et al. 2022, expand on the ethical dimensions of EBP and applied behavioral analysis, ABA, stating that each of the three components of EBP of ABA are best available evidence, client values and context, and clinical expertise and professional judgment, supports ethical behavior in their own right. So when combined, they result in a powerful process that guides decision-making in alignment with the dimensions of ABA core ethical principles and the ethics code, BACB 2020, page 632. So this suggests that the ABP framework not only enhances academic and behavioral interventions, but also aligns with ethical decision-making processes, thereby strengthening its validity in the educational setting. Moreover, Slocum et al. 2014 concludes that first, this framework draws together numerous elements of ABA practice in a single coherent system, which can help behavior analysts provide an explicit rationale for the decision-making to clients and other stakeholders, page 53. Additionally, they note that the EBP framework prompts the behavior analyst to refer to the important client values that underlie the goals of the intervention, the specific methods of intervention, and describe how the intervention is supposed to is supported by features of the context, page 54. These points reinforce the idea that EBP fosters a structured, client-centered approach, thereby facilitating more transparent and justifiable interventions in academic settings. So in conclusion, the literature supports the efficacy of EBP framework in academic settings by demonstrating its integration in multiple treatment components, policy backing, ethical alignment, and systematic approach to decision-making. While critiques of the framework exist, its benefits in education and behavior analysis remain substantial. All right, moving us to our fourth point, the individualized interventions of critical evaluation of AI-generated references. This was honestly the funnest one. So I kind of divided this one into discrepancies. So the first discrepancy we're going to take a look at, well, I guess we'll have them all visible right here. So we'll just touch base on each one. Our first one, we have the individualized interventions, Haiti 2019. So here were the discrepancies that I found through my research. The AI-generated citations for Haiti 2019 initially led me to a vague book review rather than the original source. The most relevant information located emphasizes the role of effective feedback in student learning, specifying that feedback is most valuable when students understand its application. Rational knowledge level and necessary steps for improvement. Haiti page 1 suggests that while AI-generated references can point toward relevant discussions, they may not always provide direct access to the most critical aspects of the source. So the new insights that I found after using this to brainstorm were that detailed scholarly reviews did confirm that individualized feedback is ongoing, dynamic process that adapts to the student needs. So this also aligns with broader educational theories on personalized learning, but also highlights the necessity of ensuring that AI-generated references accurately reflects the original material. All right, so the second one was self-efficacy and SRL learning strategies. So the role of self-efficacy and academic success, Zimmerman and Shook 2020 was the original citation. That was the discrepancy. So what I found was that the AI-generated citation attributed findings to Zimmerman and Shook 2020, but further review revealed that the correct citations to be Van der Linden et al. 2021. So their study discusses the unequal impact of self-regulated learning, SRL strategies on academic achievement, AA, stating that SRL effectiveness varies based on goal-setting approaches and effort investment, Van der Linden et al. 2021, page 351. The AI incorrectly cited the information, underscoring another very necessary cross-verifying source. So that's one of those things where you got to just really watch out for. So the new insights that I provided from my research were that scholarly review highlights the complexity of SRL strategies and their varying effects on academic outcomes, while the AI suggestion captured the general theme of the self-efficacy's role in learning, yet it failed to provide accurate attribution, and omitted nuanced findings, such as the negative correlation between surface processing strategies and AA. Van 2010, Verrington et al. 2015, page 352. Now, for my third point, cultural responsiveness in instructional design, Gay 2018. So the discrepancy in this citation, initially the AI generated references lacked a DOI or a clear citation detail. Further investigation identified the correct source as Gay G 2018, Culturally Responsive Teaching Theory, Research and Practice, 3rd edition, Teachers College Press. Now, despite the AI's vague citation, the source does exist and it is academically reputable. So the new insights provided were that the detailed review actually affirms the culturally responsiveness is a critical factor in instructional design. Gay's 2018 work is widely recognized and used in educational settings, particularly in Columbia University, reinforcing its credibility. This case demonstrates that the AI can point users toward valuable literature, but oftentimes requires additional effort to track down the correct references and material. Now, this takes me to my final point, limitation of AI-generated references. So, limitations of AI-generated strategies and contextual specificity, Brown et al. 2021. So this one was very interesting because the discrepancies that the AI-generated citation for Brown et al. 2021 proved to be entirely inaccurate. There were no traceable sources matching to this reference. Attempts to clarify with the AI resulted in a vague, non-specific response, ultimately suggesting that the citation may as well be fabricated. So my new insights were that the findings highlight one of the most critical limitations of AI-generated references, potentially fabricating or misrepresenting of sources. So the inability to verify Brown et al. 2021 emphasizes the need for research to independently validate all AI-provided citations to maintain academic integrity. This leads me to the conclusion that this analysis demonstrates that while AI-generated references can provide useful starting points, they often lack precision, contextual specificity, and verifiable accuracy. And in some cases, AI points toward valuable sources but fails to cite them correctly, ergo Haiti 2019 and Gay 2018, while in others it misattributes findings, ergo Zimmerman and Schuch 2020, or simply fabricates citations altogether, ergo Brown et al. 2021. So this shows the importance of thorough scholarly review and critical evaluation when relying on AI-generated content in academic research. Leading me to our final point of this presentation, which is the critical evaluation of the framework's utility and limitations in graduate education. So the critical evaluation of the framework's utility and limitation in graduating or in graduate education. So now the application of evidence-based practice in ABA has been widely recognized for its adaptability and effectiveness in addressing academic and professional challenges faced by diverse graduate student populations. So this framework is particularly valuable in promoting evidence-driven decision-making and ensuring that these interventions align with best practices in behavioral science. However, its implementation also presents notable limitations that must be critically examined. So we specifically try to focus on EBP in APA offers a structured approach. So its purpose is that it enhances academic and clinical training for graduate students. As Contreras et al. Describes, EBP incorporates a broad range of intervention packages, assessment strategies, and practice elements, ensuring that behavior analysts have access to rich evidence when designing interventions, page 621. This adaptability is essential in graduate education, where students must learn to apply theoretical knowledge in diverse real-world scenarios. Furthermore, the framework's emphasis on systematic decision-making fosters improved academic outcomes. Slocum et al. 2014 highlight that EBP strengthens decision-making processes by explicitly acknowledging the central role of evidence, while ultimately enhances the intervention effectiveness. Page 42. This structured approach helps graduate students refine their analytical and problem-solving skills, ensuring that they can apply behavioral principles effectively in various settings. An additional strength of this framework is also recognized, or the recognition of client values and contextual factors as integral components of practice. According to Contreras et al. 2022, EBP acknowledges that the client values contribute to social validity, making interventions more appropriate and effective, page 621. So this perspective is particularly beneficial for graduate students working with diverse populations, as it fosters a more inclusive and individualized approach to behavioral interventions. Okay. Oh, whoops, skip on over. So now some of the limitations in addressing diverse graduate student needs. So limitations of this framework are, despite its advantages, the EBP framework is not without its limitations. One significant challenge, it is the conceptualization of practice. Slocum et al. 2014 clarified that the term practice is defined by the American Psychological Association, APA, and the Institute of Medicine, which refers to the professional behavior rather than a specific intervention, page 43. So this distinction can create ambiguity for graduate students who may struggle to differentiate between evidence-based professional conduct and intervention strategies. So such conceptual challenges may hinder the effective application of EBP in training programs. Additionally, while EBP prioritizes the use of research-based interventions, it does not always account for the practical challenges associated with implementing the said interventions in real-world settings. So graduate students often work with complex social systems where evidence-based strategies may require significant adaptation. Slocum et al. 2014 emphasizes the need for effective dissemination of interventions, underscoring the difficulty of bridging the gap between the research and practice, page 42. So without adequate support and guidance, students may find it challenging to integrate ABP into their professional practice effectively. So what's important is the role of compassionate and contextualized training. I think I touched base on this a little bit earlier, but what this essentially leads us into is that another crucial consideration in evaluating EBP's utility is its potential to foster compassionate care. So Rohr and Weiss 2022 explored the effectiveness of behavioral skills training in teaching ABA students how to engage compassionately with caregivers of children with autism, page 14. So in their findings, they suggested that the explicit training in compassionate care skills can enhance the social validity of ABA interventions and improve interactions with clients. The emphasis on compassion and care aligns with Contreras et al.'s 2022 assertion that EBP should be a nuanced and contextually relevant rather than a rigid set of procedures, page 621. Rohr and Weiss 2022 further highlight that the BST not only facilitates skill acquisition, but also receives positive ratings from both participants and expert raters, suggesting its effectiveness is in enhancing practitioner competency, page 14. So this aspect of EBP is particularly relevant for graduate students who must balance technical proficiency with empathetic client interactions. By incorporating compassion-focused training, the EBP framework can better prepare students for the complexities of real-world practice. So now, we're here to the conclusion and future direction. So let's get to the conclusion. The EBP framework provides a valuable structure for improving academic outcomes and preparing graduate students for professional practices in ABA. So its emphasis is on evidence-based decision-making, client values, and intervention adaptability, and it's what makes it a robust tool for fostering effective learning. However, the framework also does present notable challenges, which include conceptual ambiguities and difficulties in translating research into practice. So addressing these limitations requires a more integrated approach that includes training in compassionate care and contextualized intervention strategies. So by refining the application of EBP, graduate programs can better equip students to navigate the complexities of the field and enhance their overall effectiveness as practitioners. All right, hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. I try to outline those in 4 main points. This leads me to my final statements for my references. I really hope you enjoyed this. I had a great time trying to prove ChatGPT wrong, as it's a horrendous way to try to do any work because all those citations are terrible, and it's 10 times easier to just look up your own literature and just brainstorm yourself and just slap it all into a Google's Doc and then figure it out from there. Because while it may help, I feel where I'm at personally, I don't necessarily need to be using AI GPT, and it's a lot easier to just look for academic, published legitimate sources. But here are the first page of my references, followed by my second page of my resources and references. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.